Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video and yet another part in the updated 2023 beginner's guides. Hopefully, these aren't getting very old. But today we're going to be going over all of the events that are found in the game and, what is considered beginner, middle, and end game kind of content, along with things that you should probably prioritize as a new player. So, you've started the game, you've pulled a few units here and there, probably on whatever meta banner has come out. So right now it is currently the Wielder of Magic meta with Shinsha, and then we've got the Shizu and Hinata and Protector Milim right here. So maybe you've pulled all the meta units. They vary from month to month. So next month, or in, actually technically like the end of this week, we should get a new batch of units. Well, the formula generally stays the same month to month. So if we go into the quest tab and we go into the limited time event tab, generally there will be some kind of monthly meta event that requires you to use the new units for maximum potential. So here it's the Halloween Night Harbingers. There's 7 days left until it goes away, and this is where you'll take your newly acquired meta units, whoever they may be for that month, and you can play these stages. And there's quite a few of them. They give you a good amount of crystals. They give you ore, which you can use to level up the free-to-play battle units' gear, their jacket, and their weapon. And you play this all the way up until you get to the parallel processing times 20 stage. And that is the end of it. And then you just parallel process it every single day. Because every single time you do that, you get this whatever currency. This month it's candy. And there's total milestone rewards on how much candy you acquire. And if you go all the way to 90k, you will get a lot of extra rewards alongside being able to spend said candy in the event shop, which is listed here, the event bazaar. So all this stuff, all of this, materials and stuff that you can level up your characters and get their gear done and everything, that is where you'll spend your monthly event currency. And it's good to note that because it's a monthly thing, you want to use units that come out that month. So if we click on this, we can see that there's a unit bonus. Harvest special effects 66%. And that's because I have a few units here that are giving me a bonus, because they either are from the brand new team, or they're units that were added to the categories that give a little bit of an extra bonus. So this is only 66%. You may have that when you start out. You may have all the units, who knows? But my farming team is this, where every single character gives me a bonus, and I'm up to 356% now. That's how you want to complete these stages, using the number of units that give you the most bonus. So Milim and Rigard, I know they don't show right now, but Shinsha, Hinata, Shizu, they all came out this month. Ranga here as well. They're all meta units, so they give a big time buff, and the buff does increase the amount of dupes you have. So like Shinsha at level 100 gives 40, Shizu at 104 gives 48, so it just goes higher and higher. And then a number of other units that also fit on the team, they also give a small buff. But this will enhance the amount of candy that you get every single time you beat the stage, which just helps you grind those milestones faster and gives you more currency to spend in that shop. So this should be your number one priority as far as clearing when you first start the game. Use the new units in these stages. They're not overly difficult. You may reach a wall somewhere, and that'll just be from leveling units and getting gear, but they'll be pretty effective in here. Alongside that comes the monthly Predator battle, which will release generally about a week after everything first drops for the month, and this is where you get the enhancement skills for your units. It's 3 times a day normally. They've only ever once done it more than that, and it hasn't happened in a year and a half. But this is what you should focus on first as a new player. It's very basic, very generic, and fairly easy. The next event that you should be focusing on more is story, because as you progress through the story missions, you get more population, you get more buildings, you get materials, so go as far as you can after you do the limited stuff into story quest, and then move on to your level up quest, the ability release, gold, level up, predator battles. These ones you don't have to worry about too much right now. These are your basic daily grinding stages. Thankfully, they don't have a limit except for Predator battles, so you can get as many Magicules and gold as you want. Unlike some other gacha games that may limit you to like 3 times a day or something like that. I've played a few of those, so this is quite nice. That is also something you should work on. And then once you've got your units basically leveled up and you've done a few things, it's time to move on to Conquest and Crucible down here. So Crucible and Conquest were some of the very, very early game items and events that people had challenges on. Conquest is where you can farm gear-related items. So we've got ore, we've got high-quality materials, we've got each individual typing of core to make weapons and jackets for that specific meta or element, and then we've got the hammers and grindstones, which you need to level up said gear. This is where you'll spend a lot of your time in the very beginning getting these materials from each individual stages. Each one gives a different first time clear reward. Normal gives you a free elemental jacket, which is great. So this is where you're going to spend a lot of time, because they drop a number of units every month, and they're not always fire, they're not always water like they used to. So it's going to be a bevy of different units, and you'll have to pick which stage you really need to farm to get that certain type of core to level up that certain type of unit's gear. So Crucible, Conquest, you'll spend a lot of time in here in the early game. Crucible is a tower climb, essentially. There's 100 stages. They haven't updated this in like a year or so, and I highly doubt they ever will. So these are easy to get rewards in the beginning. There are a few stages that may like soft cap you based on your power level. You just have to get better gear, essentially. But it does take a while, and there are limited time missions as of recording this. Now, they have been extending these out for the past year, but we haven't gotten another extension yet, so I don't know if those missions will remain. I don't have any more to do, so otherwise I would show you. But this is a good way to spend your stamina and get some other materials. There's fangs, there's hammers, feathers, a lot of gear-related items as first-time clear rewards here as well. So Crucible and Conquest, story, and the event mission will be where you spend most of your time for early game content, along with the farming stages. Now, moving on into mid-game stuff, maybe you've beaten everything, and now it's time to take on something a tiny bit harder. That's going to be Tempered Edge, which was like the second version of Conquest, where it still gives, the cores and the materials and stuff to level up gear, but obviously there's a much higher EP requirement now, so it starts at 196, and if we go check out what Conquest was asking for on the hardest difficulty, it was 324, and it started at 130. And Tempered Edge is a much more difficult set of stages for early and mid-game, just because it's asking for very specific teams, very specific ways to beat it. So these may take you a while. You're not guaranteed to beat all of them, especially the later ones that go up to EX5 that have a 468 power level. I wouldn't worry too much about those, because you need very specific teams to take on those late game stages on EX, 3, 4, and 5 or higher. So this is your mid-game kind of range where you can farm more currency, more materials, but also for a higher, stamina cost. So this is mid-game. Also starting to get around mid-game would be Tower of Isis and Valor Cup. So Tower of Isis is also a tower climb, quite obviously, but it is set on a kind of tile board, and so you have a different amount of stamina from your normal cost, and you use this to progress through each little battle, to get buffs, to get chests, and then to finally beat the boss and clear each floor. We also haven't had an update to this in since February of 23 or something like that, so it's been a hot minute. But there are multiple floors, there are a lot of rewards to be had. You also get certain items for clearing each fight, which you can then take into the Tower of Isis shop, and you can buy other things that are useful, especially for gear-related awakenings and stuff like this. So Tower of Isis, it does have challenges that you can test yourself, and you get extra rewards based on how limited you want your run to be. So right here, you could choose to have no fire, no wind, no earth, no dark, no magic, no water and space. So you're limited to light physical units, which, for me is fine because I have a lot of units. But for newer players, you're not going to have that kind of option. So that's why Tower of Isis can be considered a mid-game when you have a bit more unit variety and can actually clear some of these. Some of these stages are legitimately difficult, especially for mid-game players. So, do what you can. I mean, it starts all the way at level 1. Things are fairly simple. I think around level 20 or so is when things start to get moderately hard, but as you can see, as we go lower, the stages get progressively less and less complicated, smaller in scale, less big-time enemies. The requirement for EP are lower. So, I mean, I haven't even cleared this other side of the floor yet. So, Tower is somewhere good to spend if you're parallel processing or if you're out of normal stamina, because it does take a different kind of stamina. And then Valor Cup is kind of PvP, but it's only against AI bots set by other players. So it's another player's bot team. So you could find my bot, Joker, and you could fight my team that I've set up. You're not actually playing against me in real time, but you do get crystals. Every time you win 5 fights, you get 5 crystals. You do get Valor coins, which again, you can use in the Valor Cup shop to buy things. And this is, you know, when you're not at legend rank and you're much lower than that, you can win fights. Like, it starts at what, bronze 3, and every week this resets, and you get coins. Every month you get whatever set amount of crystals. So the season, I have 20 days left, and I'm going to get 300 guaranteed crystals. So, I mean, I would at least play this stuff when you get to mid-game. You have to build a team. It is very, very specific on what typing you can use. Traits don't work here. Valor traits do, but normal traits don't. So like protection gauge and skill point every 2 turns, they don't work. So very much built for people who have options as far as team building is concerned. And then when we get to late game, end game kind of stuff, that's when you're going to be taking on kind of Conquest Prime, the Chamber of Memories and Contracts. This is only used for Valor Cup gear, so honestly, I tell most people to avoid this unless they're like done with everything and have nothing else to do. Don't worry about that. Chamber of Memories and Contracts is a brand new event that came out just recently as of recording this, and it has a fairly high population requirement, which means that this is going to be built more for endgame players, very specific team builds, free-to-play units only, no EX characters, only certain categories, and then, you know, some of the OG 4-star and 3-star units only. This is very, very much endgame. Something that you can consider endgame, but also consider beginning game, is the beatdown battle. So this, for all intents and purposes, is Conquest 3.0. So how we started with Conquest, and then we moved up to Tempered Edge. We've now come into beatdown battle, which acts as the same thing, right? You're still getting cores, but now it's for every element. You still get hammers, you still get grindstones. You get the currency for the event, but it's a separate type of currency for a separate shop. And you can see this starts at 242k. This is also where you get dupes of the free-to-play battle unit as far as clearing these quests. So I always do a number of videos clearing EX3 to get that final dupe of the free-to-play unit. And then Inferno 1, 2, and 3 pretty much requires whatever new team has come out. And that has not changed since the inception of even Tempered Edge, really. But, I mean, if you have the meta and you have decent gear, you could definitely clear the first couple stages, but endgame players, you're going to be the ones clearing Inferno 3 and all that. So, that is definitely an endgame kind of thing. And then Jubilee is a monthly event that comes out. It is a ranking event, so it goes on for a week, and it is a point-based system where you clear certain battles, you get points, and it's all added up into a score, and then it ranks you based on where you sit versus other players. New players, you can take this on, right? You can do it. You can get a score. It's not going to be a good score, but it'll be something. And you will get rewards when the event is over. But the people who are going to score very high in this are the people who have the units, all the gear, and have a very good understanding of how the game works as a whole. So that's going to do it, really. The request tabs are where you can get Bond XP for characters. I still have some that I need to do, so that's fine. These interviews and stuff down here are kind of story things that you can clear on your own time. They're not hard. They're mostly cutscenes. But realistically, you want to spend most of your time on whatever monthly event comes around, story quest, and then Crucible and Conquest as far as new players are concerned. But that should cover most everything. I mean, we've covered Valor, Loop, all the quests in here. Everything else I've ever talked about is in a different video. But that should do it for me, guys. Let me know if you have any questions regarding this topic. But that's it for me. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.